Welcome to Same Cast, Different Day podcast. I am Martel Roland.
And I am Tina Marie.
We've been gone for a while, and it's Tina's fault. We've been gone for so long, y'all. I just want to put that out there. It is Tina's fault.
Oh my God. It is my fault. It is my fault, but we back. So there's that.
Right. So it's been a lot going on. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm trying to pull up the damn thing. It's been a lot going on in the world since we've been away from everybody,
Lots
and
going on.
we're just gonna jump into those things, starting with the state of our country right now. And one of these things that's been going on that I feel like a lot of people have forgotten about is Kilmar Abrea Garcia. It's a lot of people have stopped talking about his case. For those of you who don't know, he is a man from El Salvador who was here in the United States legally. He was deported from the United States by the Trump administration illegally, and they were claiming that he was deported because he was a part of the MS-13 gang or part of the cartels. I don't know if it is that's cartels or gangs. I don't know what that is. I'm not really sure. But this is a picture of him right here. He is 29 years old. He is a husband and also have kids. Um, so he how can I put this? So the Trump administration have now put his own the man's family in danger because the home that they were staying in, they're no longer allowed to stay in. They were moved out their home and to protect the custody because the people were just dropping by their house once this whole case had blew up. And then Trump had a meltdown on live TV saying that this picture was real and this man is clearly off his rocker because he cannot tell that this is clearly a Photoshop picture. There was a journalist, I believe, from Fox News who confirmed that this is a Photoshop picture, and yet this man still believes that this is a real picture. He's proudly holding that picture up in the Oval Office, thinking that he got over on the American people. And I guess he figured we're stupid like the people who voted for him. And the rest of America is just not that stupid.
Can I see that picture again?
Oh, pull it back up again. There we go, right there.
That is
He says
wow.
says MS-13 only right there. It says it right there. Just agree with me.
That
That's
that
what he
look
told
like
the reporter. Just
that
agree
look
with
like
me.
some Times New Roman.
It
They
is.
copied and pasted there.
That's exactly what it is. And his man clearly thinks that that is a real picture. And I don't know how he thinks that is anywhere resembles a real tattoo. But the thing about it is, I wish I could have got it like a zoomed in version of this. But if you zoom in on the picture, you could clearly see that the other tattoos that's on this man's wrist, I mean on his knuckles right here, that they're faded. They're very,
Man,
very old tattoos.
old.
So like this writing right here doesn't even match the tattoo ink. Like you could
I
clearly
told
tell
you,
that's type.
Times New Roman. Times New Roman copied and pasted on the picture. They didn't have to use no fancy photoshopping apps.
Exactly. And he was told by the federal government, the highest court in the US, the Supreme Court, to facilitate the return of Abreu Garcia, which he has not done. He says pretty much he's not going to. They invited the president of El Salvador to the United States. It was at the White House, and they were talking. And then the El Salvian, I don't know what they call themselves, but their president was like, "No, I'm not going to basically send them back." And basically, I guess he's like, "I'm not going to send them back and have my country pay for whatever the expenses is to send this man back." So they are like, no. So they waiting on. I guess they waiting on Trump to do what Trump isn't going to do. And this man is not. It's not like this man was sent to go live with a family member or something like. This man is sitting in a prison, a very, very, very dangerous prison. And from what I've seen online from this prison, there are like at least 8 people in one cell in these prisons, and it's just crazy to you go from living a normal life in America to now you're in El Salvador in a prison just rotting, waiting for a racist man with the hope of a racist man to send you back home. Like that's just crazy.
I agree. That's in he 29 years old, it says.
Yes,
Married
20.
with kids.
had a job. He was working,
It
and
says he was here illegal.
yeah, he's a legal U.S. citizen, and Trump deported him anyway. Just like the Venezuelan man who he was a delivery driver. He was an immigrant. So let's say, well, let me start. Let me start this over. A delivery driver who is also a Venezuelan immigrant was has disappeared after taking a wrong turn while driving McDonald's. Well, while driving, he was doing DoorDash. He was doing a DoorDash order for McDonald's in Detroit. Ricardo, I don't know how you pronounce this. I am not a Spanish speaking person.
Prada Vasquez.
Okay, there you go, y'all. They don't look like that's what they say. I'm just gonna say that. I'm just gonna say that.
It is what it says.
But the 32-year-old accidentally crossed the Canadian border while he was attempting to deliver the food while he was doing Uber Eats in January. Oh, he's doing Uber Eats in January. Um, he was also reported to be detained by U.S. authorities when he attempted to re-enter the U.S. Vasquez reportedly was told a friend that he had been moved to a detention camp in Texas and was suspected to be deported back to Venezuela on March 15th. After the Trump administration flew three planes full of detainees from Texas to a facility, a high security prison, I should say, in El Salvador, Vasquez seemingly just disappeared. His family and friends have not heard from him. They're unsure of his whereabouts at this moment. Uh, so we're I don't I don't know how a person just disappears. And basically, this man was detained, and now he just disappeared off the face of the earth. Nobody knows where he is. So they're basically deporting these people from America to a prison in El Salvador, and they basically have no contact with family, no nothing, just there. Rights just gone. And Trump believes that even though you're not an American citizen, you don't have the right to due process, even though it says in the Constitution that everybody has the right to due process, whether you're an American citizen or not. And the fact that this man keeps defying the federal government, the Supreme Court judges over and over again, he has broke many laws in the Constitution, and yet this man still remains the president of the United States to have a job. I'm finding this hard for why there are people voting for why people voted for him, and I'm gonna get into it in a little bit in a minute of why his decisions has affected this country. The people who voted for him, the poor people that voted for him, this is gonna affect them the most. This presidency.
So I got a question for you. Why
Mhm.
do you think he is so hyper focused on like deporting immigrants?
Because that's what his campaign ran on. He's like, "Oh, that's gonna make people mad because racist white people don't like brown people. They can't deport us because we were born here. We are U.S. citizens. Although if you are in prison and you're trying to serve you have a lengthy jail time, he was trying to send you across seas over to somewhere in the Middle East to serve your jail time. And then if you serve your jail time and you get released from jail, how the hell do you get back to America? Is my question.
What is happening, man?
So yeah,
This is
the federal judges, the Supreme Court was like, no, you're not going to send people overseas to go serve jail time. Like, no, that's not going to happen. And then he was trying to spark some type of deal with El Salvador to send people there too to also
Mhm.
serve their prison time.
Almost
And
like in Guantanamo Bay.
right. They tried to use that. And it's crazy because we are using more tax dollars housing these people in other countries than it was just keeping them here, letting them work, letting them pay taxes. Because even though they're not considered legal American citizens, they were still paying taxes. And so, like, why not keep them here and let them work, pay their taxes like everybody else? Um.
That's why I said, what's
Also,
the problem?
he don't like Mexicans. That's all it is. He's just a racist old man who don't like Mexicans. And then
So,
no, go
do
ahead.
you feel like it's going to go to other races? Do you feel like he's going to do that to
I
others?
mean, but that's why he was trying to get rid of the birthright citizenship. So I feel like he already tried to go to other races and it didn't work. So now he's like, okay, now I'm just gonna be super hyper focused on Mexicans again.
That's crazy.
So like yeah, so even if you had one parent that was I think either one parent was born here and the other one wasn't, he was trying to terminate their citizenship. And if both of your parents was born in another country and but you were born here, he was trying to take away their citizenship, saying no, you're of where your parents came from, and basically trying to kick them out of America, which doesn't make sense whatsoever. And then on top of that, our federal government decided to there well let's just I shouldn't say decided there are how do you put it? They're trying to figure out if this is a good idea or if this is something they should do. They really are considering doing a reality TV show where these people can do challenges and try to win a citizenship in the United States. This is what our government is doing. They're literally trying to create a reality TV show to fast track your citizenship status in the US.
So originally, I had seen an article saying that whoever was trying to create this reality TV show had been discussing it with Homeland Security, and
Yes.
then I turned around and saw a statement that Homeland Security they said no, they haven't been contacted about the show, but yes, it is a real idea. I'm like, excuse me, that this
Like,
is not a game. Why?
like
Why is
this
this?
this
What?
is people lives we're talking about here.
This makes me it's all so cringy, right? So you putting a bunch of people that should not be in these camps, right? We
Right.
just gonna start there. Then now you're throwing it back a few hundred decades into making people fight for the right to be in our country. That sounds like
Mhm.
some gladiator type of, you know what I'm saying? Some type of what? You are a prisoner now? You got to fight.
Right. You're a prisoner now. You got to fight for your freedom again, or your citizenship. Like this man
That's
has
what it sounds.
completely
That's what it
lost
sounds
his
like to
marbles.
me. Yeah,
He lost his
yeah.
marbles. Now to turn a little bit to a sad story. Um, Tina is a health professional, so
Mhm.
she'll be able to give you like you guys more of a detail of this. But so a Georgia woman, she lives in Atlanta. Her Georgia family is mourning the loss of Adriana. She was a young mother who was declared dead on February 19th from a sudden tragic medical emergency. She complained about a headache, and then they discharged her from the hospital. And then she, I guess the headache got worse, so she went back to the hospital, and she was pronounced dead sometime later. And it was determined that she's brain dead. It turns out, I believe she had a blood clot in her brain, which caused the
She had multiple blood clots,
yeah,
multiple,
multiple blood clots in her
and they
brain.
couldn't. They decided not to operate.
Operate, yeah. So, so it turns out that this woman who was in the early stages of her pregnancy, she was just 2 months along at the time, but due to Georgia's heartbeat law, um, they weren't allowed to abort the baby. So basically, they are keeping this woman alive on life support, even though she's pretty much brain dead. They're keeping her body alive on life support while the baby is still growing in her body, and basically they will not take her off of life support until she delivers that baby. I but then on top of that, they don't know the effects that it's going to have on the baby. So I don't know, by you being a healthcare professional, I don't know if you heard of anybody, being on life support that long and then they're carrying the baby. It's till term until they can, like, I don't that just seemed
No,
horrible.
so I feel like stuff like this is now starting to happen ever since that whole abortion, like the abortion law being,
Mhm.
um, recalled. Basically, so women in a lot of states don't have the right to get abortions because Trump, when he was in office previously, left it up to what the states wanted to decide, I believe, right?
Um, So no, and well, one somebody in the state, one of the states filed a lawsuit and against Roe v. Wade, and somehow went to Supreme Court, and Supreme Court overturned it. And then when
Roe
Trump
v.
got in
Wade.
office, he said that he was going to leave it up to the states once he got into the office the second time.
Oh, okay. Okay. So basically, they can't pull the plug on her because you can't. I'm assuming whatever law Georgia has in effect. I'm not sure if it's after a certain gestational age because I believe you said when this happened, she was like 2 months
Hmm.
along. And I believe the article that we were researching, she was at 21 weeks, I believe.
Yes. So and then they said, I think it's after a certain amount of weeks, you're not allowed to abort the baby in Georgia. I'm trying to
Okay.
see.
So it's probably super early, right? If she was 2 months pregnant, that means she was 8 weeks. So it might be like 7 weeks and under. But
Hmm.
for most women, we don't even know that, you know what I'm saying, until we don't usually get confirmation, like an actual confirmation from like a provider until we are somewhere between 6 and 7, maybe 8 weeks. So that's when you actually know, other than peeing on a pregnancy test, that you're pregnant. You get that confirmation from a doctor, right?
Hmm.
So it's basically saying at that point when a woman probably will get confirmation that she cannot have an abortion. Okay.
Right.
Um, Now this I feel like it's really sad because I was reading somewhere that Georgia law says that she has to be 36 weeks before they decide to deliver the baby.
Hmm.
Okay. That's
Yep.
what I read.
Yeah, they're saying
Now,
between 37 and 38 weeks for
okay, so I was
Georgia.
gonna say 37 is considered full term
Yeah.
now. Okay. So but the thing is, I'm not really sure how the fetus, the newborn, like if they're going to have any complications, physical complications or developmental complications. Because, I mean, honestly, the mother isn't up, not walking, not talking, not eating solid foods, not doing any of that.
Right. That's what I was
Uh,
wondering, like, how's the baby getting the proper nutrition that it needs if the mom isn't
they would give like TPN. It's basically nutrition through an IV. They'll do like peg tubes and stuff like that. I'm not sure with somebody that's brain dead how they handle that because I've never worked in the ICU before. Um, but um, at the same time, like it's a bunch of medications that's also being put into her body that sustain her life.
Mhm.
you know. So I don't know how. I'm assuming they would try to use the drug so it's the least toxic, but all medications, anything you put into your body is potentially harmful to the baby. So this is, I know the parents, when I was reading the article, her parents, I believe, in her family, they wanted to pull the plug, uh,
Mhm.
because they're like, I believe she's having a boy because I seen that her mother was saying that she had a son that was 7 years old already.
Correct.
And um now she's having another boy. And they've been telling her 7-year-old son that mommy's just sleeping for a very long time. That's wild.
Right, because it's like you can't you like how do you can't tell him that she's dead because he physically know that he can go to the hospital and she's physically right there, and it's almost it's just and then it's like was like they can't really grieve her death or actually move on or try to move on with the next stages of life as long as they're keeping her hostage basically in that hospital. And I
But
couldn't
then it's
imagine
like, what do you
like
tell the child when a child is born? And his
like
older brother gonna tell him.
right, the older brother gonna tell him, yeah, but
That's crazy.
it's I don't this is another reason why I get so mad when I hear and especially oh she got the same cast different day shot glass. Yay. Oh, I ain't got no all I got is water. Don't judge me. I would tell y'all about my drinking later. Um,
Ooh,
uh, but yeah, like we were saying, though, what do you tell the child? Like, and it's almost like, how do the family, like we were like my daughter is gone, and I want to be able to get past this. I want to move on. Like, you never really, like the hurt never goes away from losing a child, but at the same time, it's like, how do I start the next chapter? Like, because I remember watching a video, and it was like somebody who you really love, somebody that's really close to you. They would say, you don't grieve. You shouldn't just grieve that person passing away. It's like you died also. And what they were saying, like the old you is the old you dies. Like all the memories and all, like the way you were, the way how you acted, like a lot of you die when that person dies. So it's almost like you're starting all over again when somebody that close to you passes away. So it's almost like you got to grieve yourself, and then you got to grieve for the other person. But at the same time, it's like, now I got to figure out this whole new identity without this person in my life anymore. So it's like, how do I
it's
start?
when you lose a parent at any age, it's definitely an
Right,
adjustment. You know,
right,
I do feel like, at 7 years old, seeing your mother like that, and then being constantly told that she's just sleeping, you know,
mm-hmm,
it when they get older, because children do, and they found out, family secrets or whatever happened.
mm-hmm.
Um, it can be very, that's a hard situation to deal with. Like, how do you even process that type of information? And then, like I said, you know, prayers to the baby that she carrying. Hopefully, the baby is healthy. Since
Right, I
the
agree.
government forced this upon her family members, they had no choice. But even if they're physically healthy, like
There's
psychologically, what does this do
right.
to
There's no
the
other
child?
no telling what kind of disabilities that child can have.
Or they might just be like, they might grow up thinking that they're the reason why their mother is dead.
True,
You know,
that is
because
possible.
she just had multiple blood clots in her brain and they couldn't operate. And I wonder I want to know what the reason was why they didn't operate on her. Was it because she was pregnant and it was a possibility of her losing a child? You know, I'm very curious, but I'm pretty sure that may or may not come out.
I mean, I wonder. Was it the doctor's decision to not to do the operation, or was it the family? Because I know sometimes they can go in there and can
They would have
determine, like,
activated. They would have activated a
the
power of
power of
attorney.
attorney, right? So it's almost like, so they decided, like, it's not really worth. I like it's not really worth going in and operate on. So I wonder if it was just like they knew that it was just too far severe, that even if we go in and try to operate her and on her and try to fix these problems, we can cause other problems that can lead to other issues, and it's just not worth all that trouble to, like, just
But that's not up to the
that is true. The
doctor or the
doctor, right,
surgeon. If they have an assigned power of attorney, healthcare power of attorney, the healthcare power of attorney makes those decisions.
right,
Because if the person was um, not incapacitated, then it would have been a surgeon's responsibility to tell them the risks and the benefits of the surgery, and they would have decided if they were going to go through with the surgery or not. So no, they for what
uh,
that's why I said I'm very curious as to what was the reason why they decided not
right,
to to operate, because it said that they were and then they decided not to.
right. Yeah, I guess we'll never know unless they publicly come out and say,
They need to sue the
uh,
hospital for sending her home the
that
first time
too.
she went.
Miss Wilson over here on TikTok, she said her auntie and uncle lost two kids 3 years apart from each other. Whoa,
That's wild.
that is very wild. And like I said, like I was saying, like when you lose a child or somebody that really that close to you, it's like you said, like your that last identity when they were alive here with you, that is dead. And you have to now create this whole new identity and become this whole new person without this person in your life anymore. So it's like you lose yourself when you lose someone close to you. And I never really thought about it in that kind of way of how you have to kind of rebuild your identity without that person being in your life anymore. And I never thought about that.
I would definitely lose myself if I lost a child. I feel like losing a parent versus losing a child is a different type of hurt.
Hmm.
With losing your parent, that was going to happen eventually, right?
Right.
And we're so used to the children losing their parents versus the parents losing their children. So it's like the children are not supposed to die before the parents do, right?
Hmm.
So you know, I could never imagine losing any of my children. I could never imagine, and like you said, that I would lose a piece of me. I would never be the
Hmm.
same person that I was before.
Exactly.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, like my mom's aunt, she is like 94, 95. She has outlived all her kids. And then her kids didn't have grandkids. So it's just literally just her now. And then like I said, it's just crazy. Like I said, you gotta completely just rebuild yourself over again.
Mhm.
I was reading her comment. Yes. Let's say yeah, it's true. You lose a part of yourself, and like I say, you gotta rebuild yourself and find a whole new identity and then find a way to keep pushing through life without them being there. Which is I feel like it's like the
Mhm.
hardest thing ever.
Mhm.
Um So, what time we got? Okay, 'cause, we only doing about an hour, y'all, about hour 10 at the most. So to keep this show going, because I don't want to get all sad, too sad and stuff. Then I ain't got no alcohol, and I don't want Tina to start crying because she had some shots. You know. So
I am not about to start crying. I don't even know why you better stop lying to these people. What's wrong with you? What is wrong with
oh,
you?
let's let's talk about health insurance cuts to health insurance. So, by the way, this whole big beautiful bill thing did not pass, but this is some of the things that was going to affect people, and this is why I feel like people really need to look into and do research into who they voting for and these laws and stuff they want to put into effect and all these kind of things because this is why people really need to really think about the decisions that they make and the people who say like, oh, my vote don't count. Every vote count. Every vote matters, and this is one of the main reasons why. Because people, I should say hate, but there are people who have this idea who doesn't vote because they say it doesn't affect them. But you not going to go vote, and the person that can possibly get voted into that position because you didn't go vote can affect somebody close to you that you love. So if you got somebody, and so if you got an older family member who depends on Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, and all these kind of things, that affects them. And you have a sitting president right now who's trying to take away these people like right to live. Basically, you take away Social Security and privatize it. So that person might say, oh well, I don't feel like you deserve to get $2,000 a month. Everybody knows $2,000 a month is not a much to live off of this day and age. But they probably say, well, I feel like you deserve $600 a month. There's no telling what they would have did with that, or they still could do. They still in talks of trying to privatize Social Security. But one of the major things was this big beautiful bill and then Medicaid and Medicare. So the House Republicans have revealed that would unveil the cost-saving centerpiece of President Donald Trump's big beautiful bill. At least $880 billion in cuts regularly to Medicaid to help cover the cost of the 4.5 trillion that he promised in tax cuts to the 1%, which is the billionaires and millionaires. Um, so tallying this is well, it was hundreds of pages. The legislature revealed at late Sunday. This was last Sunday. Uh, I lost my thoughts. Where was that? So this was the political fight over the Republicans trying to repeal when they was trying to repeal the Affordable Care Act and Obamacare when it was during Trump's first term. So basically, with this bill, it would have took over the course of a decade. It would have took 8.6 million 8.6 million Americans would have lost health care insurance due to this big beautiful bill. So basically, he's going to make it harder for you to qualify to get Medicaid or Medicare, whatever. Which one are we talking about here? I'm lost. Um, Medicaid. So it would have made it harder for people to get Medicaid. And then they were talking that if you are a able bodied a single able bodied person, you will need to work 80 hours in order to receive this Medicaid health insurance if you're an able bodied person. And it's just like,
Okay, so
this is
you
what you
mean
people voted for?
even past retirement age? What is it? 65 or 68? Yeah. What is it? 65
So
now?
did see that's what they didn't really specify that part. Because to them, they to them they're saying that Medicaid is a big waste and it's a big waste. It's a fraud. It's people abusing the system, and they didn't specify if you were an able-bodied person past retirement if you will still have to work. But I think if you are retired, you still can get it. But like I said, they were trying to change it. So like previously with Medicaid, like it's just some people can go to the doctor and they would have no cost up front. So now they're trying to change it to where you have to pay a copay every time you go to the doctor. You have to pay a copay every time you need a medication. They're trying to do like basically how private health insurance is, where you have to pay for every freaking thing you use with your health insurance.
Okay. So Medicare is generally, so when I think of, you said Medicaid, right?
Yeah,
Okay. So Medicare is generally for people 65 and older unless um you have been deemed
disabled.
disabled.
Yeah,
Yes. So but then the people that are disabled, they'll get Medicare is their
yeah,
primary and Medicaid for their secondary. So
yeah.
how
So they
Medicaid
keep their
works.
benefits, the disabled.
So Medicaid is generally for women that are pregnant, minor children, and people, grown ups who do not have access to health insurance. So, like, if I was working and say I was working at a company that was small enough that they were not required to give us benefits, type of
Mm-hmm.
thing, then I would apply for Medicaid, but then I would
That's
have a
correct.
copay. So, like, for me, my children that are under the age of 18 are covered by Medicaid, but because the amount of money that I make, um,
Mm-hmm.
I think per month, I think they, or annually, I have to pay a copay now.
Right,
Okay,
right.
to get the insurance. So the same thing, or no, a premium. I have to pay a premium now. So with my primary insurance that's through my job, which I pay a much higher premium,
Mm-hmm.
plus my Medicaid that I have, that I'm paying a much, much, much lower premium. I don't have a copay for anything.
Right.
Doctor's visits,
See that
hospital visits,
there's a
urgent
lot of people
care,
though.
medications.
But
So that's fine.
there's a lot of people like, but for males, we don't qualify for Medicaid if we are a able-bodied person and work 80 hours a week. We don't qualify for Medicaid, so we only thing we
That's
can
true.
get is the insurance through our employer. And like I said, I work for a healthcare facility, and yet I feel like our health insurance sucks. Like I have told people,
Yeah,
it's
y'all heard the sure stuff.
like I
Like
said, I went
you
and
probably
got
would have been
a
better off going to marketplace.
I think that's what I'm gonna do when it reopens because I'm like right now I pay even though I pay like what almost 200 some dollars a month for one person on health insurance. That's just for one person. It's $30 every time I go to a doctor. And then if I was to go see a specialist, it's $60. But then if I was to go get labs and stuff like that done, that can run me between 150 to $250 just for them drawing labs and stuff like that. So anytime I got to do labs or anything extra besides talking to you, you're gonna pay extra money with, and this is for health insurance while working for a healthcare facility. It
So,
sucks.
but the catch is that you can only go to their providers, right? Or they still doing that?
Yeah, so they have like an in-network thing, which basically means if I go outside of the state of Wisconsin, I basically would not be covered. If I was to get hurt or sick outside the state of Wisconsin, I wouldn't be covered. So if I do go out of town or will go out of town and I want to have that extra insurance, I would have to pay more money per paycheck to have that extra coverage. And then on top of that, I think are they don't start covering 100% of medical expenses. I think mine's a set of like 15 between 15 and 20,000 out of pocket before they start covering any medical expenses out of pocket. Well, I mean 100%. So like I said, it sucks. And then they wonder and then they're like, oh, it's not enough people going to to see a doctor or whatever it is. And some people like either I don't got health insurance or I just can't afford to go. Like it's too expensive to go check and see about my health, and it sucks. I mean, that's America right now. I don't understand why we're the only a non-third world country who don't have universal health care. Like we're the only people who are a whatever society and don't have universal health care. Like it
But it
sucks.
makes money, honey. It makes money.
It is a lot of money in health
It
care.
makes a lot of money. Let me tell you about how, like, the drug reps come to my place of employment and they want to do lunches. They bring lunches. They drop off all types of things. We do
I've
dinners
seen that
at
before.
very expensive steakhouses, and just all so they can have somebody talk to you about whatever drug they want you to write a prescription for.
Hmm.
You know, so, and some of those things, I'm like, okay, some of the medications, I'm like, okay, yeah, I can see this one, but some of those, I'll be like, yeah, no, you come way too much, like you really pressing the issue. So it's a lot of money. It's a
Hmm.
lot of money. I know drug reps easily make more money than I do as a nurse. Easy,
Right.
easy. So,
So but speaking on more waste, fraud, and abuse,
oh Lord,
also she said that they don't want us to have universal health care because they don't want people like us to have it, which is probably true. They don't want brown people to have health care. They don't want us to take care of ourselves, which is crazy because even though I can say there are some people who are considered obese who are brown, but they still have long lifespans. Like we still, if we in a certain way, if we take care of ourselves enough, we still have long lifespans compared to so many other people.
it's a lot
Yeah,
of genetics in that too.
yeah, that too. But
It is.
to keep things going, and we're talking more about waste, fraud, and abuse, according to our current administration. Um, it- um, so basically, the Republicans want the poorest people in our country to pay more in taxes. What do you mean by that? In
It's always
2029,
been like that.
this was part of Trump's big beautiful tax bill that he was this big beautiful bill he was trying to get passed. So in
Mhm.
2029, Americans making less than 30,000 will actually pay more in taxes under the GOP plan that the current under that's than under the current law. Americans making less than 15,000, the poorest of the poor, will pay 53% more taxes than the average tax rate. Wait, did I get the right? Yeah, than they do now under the average tax rate. That tax rate will jump from 3.3 to 5.1%. Meanwhile, households making over a million will pay 6.4% less in taxes, totaling an estimated 74 billion collectively, as their average rates fall from 30.8% to 28.7% in taxes. And this is coming from the GTC, which is the Joint Tax Commission. Um, so yeah. I'm gonna pause right there. So that's just let y'all know, like I said. So I make over 30,000. So actually people over 30,000 would have also gotten a tax cut. So I would have been paying less in taxes than somebody who makes $15,000 a year.
All I can say is they may or may not approve this. I don't know. He may get it
So
passed,
this
but
was part of that big beautiful bill that got shot down. Even some of his Republican people were like, "No, we're not going to pass this." So none of this got passed. But this is just this.
okay.
I wanted to talk about this because this is some of the repercussions that you get of people who are the poorest of the poor, and there are a lot of people who are considered the poorest of the poor who voted for him. And then you voted for a man that was going to cost you more money, that was going to take more money out of your kid's mouth. So that's I'm like that's why I want to talk about this. The people need to understand. They're understand that their
we can
decisions have consequences. This
we can
would have been
talk
the
about it. We
consequences.
can
I'm
talk
just
about it. We
saying.
can talk about it. We can
Whew.
talk about it. We can talk about it.
So
You the one talking
Americans
about
making so Americans making over 30,000 will get a tax cut, like I was saying, according to the JCT. But those numbers of those numbers as a burden Duke of center on budget and policies. And this is just too much.
some.
I just got
I'm
tired.
like,
But
okay.
okay, policy priority notes. Do not include other tax law changes such as higher thresholds and for the estimated tax. There we're talking about a tax to the SNAP and Medicaid that primarily benefits the poor people, which with the poor, but I think they worded that wrong. So what they were mean is, so they were talking about with food stamps. So they were saying that if you have a child that's 8 years to 8 to 18, you will no longer receive food stamps for that child. You will only receive food stamps if your child is 7 years of and younger. If this big beautiful bill were to get passed, which I'm like, which don't make sense, but that's what the Republicans had wanted. That's what people had wanted. They found that many Americans who make less than $51,000 a year will see a after-tax income fall as a result of the Republican proposal beginning in 2026. So once again, the middle
It's
class and the poor would have been screwed. I mean, only
just
person, let's see, like the only people who would have got a tax cut is the top 1%. And if you made between 30 and 51,000, those only ones who would have got a tax cut.
listen,
Everybody else got a tax increase.
listen. Just when I thought I get to place in my life where I make enough money, it's like, no, you need to make more. Like
Hmm.
what is happening? It's
The
too much.
greedy people like, and then there was this actor. He played in the Marvel movie with the rings. I can't think of the movie name right now, but he had the little gold
The
rings
Asian
that light up.
movie?
Yeah, he's like Asian
Yeah.
or something like that.
Something about the seven rings. I think it was seven of them, wasn't it?
She said the Magnus is magic. She posted proof about a story. Wait, you said what now?
I think it was something about the seven rings. Then he had
Yeah.
seven
So
rings
yeah,
or something like
yeah,
that.
the seven rings. So he publicly went on social media and said, "I don't need a tax cut." He said, "I just found out that I'm getting another a tax cut that I don't need." He said, "I don't mind paying my fair share in taxes. I don't need the money. I don't need another tax cut." And like I said, the only reason why we're getting all these cuts in the federal level is because this man told all these millionaires and billionaires, like, "Hey, if you guys get me in office, I will basically cut your taxes and make the way you can make more money." And that's basically what he's doing. So he want to cut health insurance, food stamps. What else was it? He wanted to cut the CDC. He got rid of the weather people. Because I remember, I think they had a tornado that popped up in Kentucky, and they didn't have a third shift weather person, to monitor the weather in Kentucky, which means a warning didn't go out in time for these people to take cover, and people died behind that because he want to cut everything to give the richest of the richest tax cuts.
I was gonna say, like, where's all this money supposed to be going that we're gonna be
Yeah, he's
sending
trying
for
to
all these
find $4 trillion to give the rich people tax cuts. So when he realized that he couldn't get that $4 trillion by cutting all these programs, he's like, "Oh, we could just raise the debt ceiling by a $4 trillion to cover that tax cut." So right now, America is spending more money than it's bringing in, pretty much. So as of right now, I believe our we are spending about $8 trillion. No, between $7 to $8 trillion a year is what American is spending right now, and this is the highest that it's been under any administration. The last time, I think, with previous presidents was Biden, Obama, and even Bush. We ranged between $3 to $5 trillion per year that we were spending per year as a country. And I think it didn't raise until after the pandemic, around 2023. 2022, 2023, we went up to like 6 trillion. But other than that, we've been between $3 to $5 trillion under the last few administrations, and then Trump get in and it jumps from that 3 to 5 threshold to now we're spending $8 trillion a year, which is ridiculous. And it's like, but then you want to give there's a story that came out, there was this senator who was like, um yes, he's spending more than Bush. Don't we? Oh, yeah, right. He did cut the VA and veterans benefits. Also, he's trying to cut that too. He has actually cut jobs in the VA already. Um, under the
It was
time of
already short staffed.
yeah, and he cut even more jobs because there was this woman who voted for Donald Trump. She moved to another city in Texas that for a job that she got at the VA, and then once she got moved to the town and got moved in and reported for work, they told her due to Trump's new budget cuts, she no longer had a position. So now you done moved your family thousands of miles into a new city, and now you don't have a job.
Baby, I would have had them sign a contract for some stuff like that. I ain't going nowhere without a contract being signed, honey.
Tell me about it. So this is all the craziness that he's doing to try to give his friends tax cuts. Now, I'm tired of these Republicans, these MAGA people acting like they don't know what tariff taxes are and how this affects you as a
They don't.
normal everyday person.
I don't
So
think
I'm
they're
going
playing.
to I'm going to break it down to them. What tariff taxes are and how does this affects them? So, tariff taxes is a tariff increase on the cost of imported goods which can pass on to a consumer in the form of higher prices. As Trump said once he lied and said that it wouldn't, but that's what a tariff tax is.
And now he
Uh
mad at Walmart.
right, that's why he mad at Walmart. He told Walmart to just eat the cost. So that way
Mhm.
that tariff tax that he's trying to pay people pay won't get passed on to consumers to make it seem like he was right that it don't increase prices, which you do. So
Mhm.
this can reduce the purchase power of consumers, especially for lower income households who may spend a large portion of their income on imported goods. Now,
Sheen, Timu.
right. So domestic business. Higher production costs. Businesses that rely on imported materials or components may face a higher production cost due to tariffs, potentially leading to reduced profits or higher price for their products, which we have seen when it comes to farming and manufacturing. Uh, Increased competition. Tariffs can make imported goods more expensive, potentially increasing the demand for domestically produced goods and creating more competition for domestic businesses. Retaliatory tariffs. If one country imposes a tariff on another, the retaliating country may impose a tariff, potentially leading to a trade war, which is what Trump did with China. That hurts businesses on both sides.
Yep, but I think they came to some kind of truce for like
They
30
didn't. He just
days or
backed
something.
down. He just they did. He just realized
Oh
that
my
China wasn't.
God.
He just realized that China wasn't going to back down. So his friends was whispering in his ear like, "Hey, you better back down because they talking about this recession and stuff. And I ain't trying to lose my job 8 months into this presidency."
Listen,
So,
it's so
I,
many things that we import from China. He need to stop playing. Okay?
hmm
You can't make these type of decisions if there is no way to switch the demand for these products to
yeah.
like
So
local.
Miss Wilson, 'cause I don't know if she want me to use her first name on here. Because I'm gonna just use by her TikTok name. She said Amazon spoke out about the tariffs and how they won't have a lot of products and in rise prices, which, like I said, a lot of stuff come from China, and they won't have the products they need to sell.
Right. I'm not quite sure how to help you with that. Hello.
Alexa, do not disturb.
I won't disturb you.
That heifer. But oh
Oh
my god, that
god.
just threw me off.
Oh
Okay. Okay, so yeah.
god.
So is that it's a reducing sales. So like for our farmers, they have a dramatic decrease in sales because so basically China and some of these other countries were buying like a lot of soybeans and stuff from America. You know, soybeans is something they can't really grow there in China, or they have a hard time growing them, so they get them imported from America. Due to Donald Trump's trade war, you know, China has signed deals with other countries that to get their products in there, like China is no longer buying beef, like animal, like beef meat. They're not buying meat from America anymore, and they're not buying soybeans. So they're now getting their meat from Australia, and uh, I think Brazil. They're getting their soybeans from Brazil, which now is going to cause us the businesses here in America either to go out of business or they're going to see a significant drop in profit. And a lot of farmers, I believe, I want to say Wyoming, I believe it was Wyoming and somewhere in the Dakotas. They were talking about how a lot of their farms are shutting down due to Donald Trump's tariff taxes and this whole war that he got, trade war that he has going on, and that he cut off a lot of federal funding. So a lot of farmers were given grants to do like updates on their basic on their farmland, and this is through the Biden administration. And Trump came in and got rid of it, and then his manager said, "Well, I just pay $90,000 for a new system to like water my crops or whatever. So now that $90,000 I was gonna have to water my crops, I'm gonna have to take that out of my personal bank account, the business account, to pay for this $90,000 that I just spent on renovating my water system, and now I don't have the payment to pay my mortgage on the farm. So within a few months, so these people are losing their farms because of his trade war. There was this farm that's been around for like 100 and something years is now gone because of Trump's trade war. So you guys and a lot of these farmers voted for Donald Trump. He said he was going to help you. He said he was going to be there for you, and he wasn't there when we all really needed him. He was not there for you.
So
Uh,
basically, Biden was setting up America to be able to take over the demand of
base.
feeding the American people, and then he
Mm-hmm.
shut it down, and then imposed tariffs. So it makes food products or whatever
More.
goods we need
Mm-hmm.
more difficult, more expensive to get.
And then because he want to deport all the illegals, we don't have people out there in those fields to pick those crops and other things because they don't have the workers. So now because there's going to be less product now, that's going to drive up the cost because there's less product. The global economy. Tariffs can disrupt global trade patterns, lead to trade wars, and negatively impact overall economic growth. And that was according to the University of Virginia. Thank you already. Thank you so much. I should have said your name, Miss Wilson. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I feel so
Shout
special.
shout
Thank
out
you.
to shout out to former President Joe Biden. I just saw something that said that
Oh yeah, I forgot to
he
mention
was
that. Yeah.
diagnosed with prostate cancer that has metastasized to bone. I don't know specifically where. Um, the article said that he was going to undergo hormone therapy because the particular type of cancer cells
Hey, Brody.
respond better to hormone therapy versus chemo and
Hmm.
radiation. So,
Yeah. Shout out to Biden. Hopefully you can
yeah, yeah. Prayers
get
to his
better.
family because cancer ain't nothing nice.
Right. So we're getting close, getting short on time, and I want Tina to get through. She's gonna do a deep dive into this whole Diddy trial. But before we go, because I had to put this out there, uh, golfing Republican. I said Republican. Lord, she would have kicked my ass and she would have saw if I would have said her name. I
Representative.
know. I was about to say
Woo,
Republican.
child.
She was gonna kick my since she saw this video on the
Woo.
street. But Representative Jasmine Crockett of Texas, uh, at a Doge subcommittee hearing on the use of federal buildings, which she this is what she said. She said, "We need to light on fire. Wait, we need to light a fire." Or Trump, my that is so not the right grammar. We need to light a fire on Trump's tariffs. If we are going to talk about efficiency and worry about some solar panel, whatever, let's talk about the fact that as of March 31st, Trump golfing has cost us approximately $26 million for Trump to go golf. But they're worried about fraud and abuse and costs, and we need to do this. But this man has spent what not even that wasn't even a full 3 months in the office. $26 million on golf.
Sad.
Make it make sense.
It
That's
ain't
the
no
man y'all
sad.
voted for. Now I'm gonna send it on over to Tina so she can do a deep dive into the Diddy trials.
Okay, so everybody knows that this past week that it's been Diddy's trial has started. And the first witness that was called to the stand was Cassie Ventura. We know her as Cassie. That is her right there. She is visibly pregnant. Congratulations to her. But it looks like Friday afternoon she wrapped up her testimony against Sean Diddy Combs in the racketeering and sex trafficking trial. Um, it says Ventura Combs' former long-term girlfriend is a star witness in the case and has alleged that Combs physically and sexually abused her. He used violence and blackmail to make her participate in drug-fueled sex parties known as freak-offs over more than a decade. Friday was a second day of cross-examination as defense attorneys asked her about her treatment for PSTD, challenged with the timeline her allegations, and highlighted an eight-figure financial settlement she received. So she received 20 mil, 20 mil from Diddy or Sean Combs, or however you want to call him. But then she also, when I was reading some of the moments from the trial, it sounds like she might have received 10 million from the hotel where the video evidence of Sean Combs, being very physical with her in the hallway. Okay. Um, so it says Ventura, who is pregnant and due next month. Wow. Also answer questions for the prosecution in a short redirect as the court made efforts to complete her testimony before her baby arrives. The defense has attempted to portray Combs as a jealous and occasionally violent man with drug problems as opposed to the head of a criminal enterprise and has argued the women consented to their sexual arrangements. Combs has pleaded not guilty to racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, and transportation to engage in prostitution. So I want to let everybody know anytime you cross state lines, it is deemed sex trafficking. Okay. Um, if it's consensual or
Word.
non-consensual, yes. You know what? I'm not gonna
So
deal
wait, whoa,
with
whoa,
you
whoa.
right now.
So if I was to go across state lines to go do it with somebody, that's sex trafficking.
In the definition that's put in a court of law, yes. Yep. Yep.
I'm a sex trafficker.
Oh my god. You're not supposed to tell everybody that? Hold on. Wait.
I went across state lines to go do it with somebody. It was consensual, but to do it with okay, okay, I'm gonna behave. I'm gonna behave.
Oh my god. Okay, so so the defense has attempted to portray Combs as a jealous and occasionally violent man with a drug problem. It's opposed to the head of a criminal enterprise and has argued the women consented to sexual arrangements. Combs has pleaded not guilty to racketeering, conspiracy, sex trafficking, and transportation to engage in prostitution. He could face up to life in prison if convicted. To end the week, Dawn Richard, a former member of the Combs group Danity Kane, took the stand on late Friday. She is set to resume her testimony Friday morning. So, in cross examination,
Show the
defense
classic.
attorney Anna Estavo focusing on the timeline of Ventura's rape allegation in an attempt to challenge her testimony. Ventura testified Combs raped her after a dinner they had in Malibu, California in August of 2018 before the Burning Man Festival. Ventura has previously asserted that her 2023 lawsuit that the rape occurred in September 2018. Estavo also suggested that Ventura told investigators the same during a meeting, during a 2023 meeting around the same time she filed her lawsuit. She also questioned Ventura about what she told the government investigators about Combs' apparent state of mind. Did you tell him that he was acting anxious and strangely? Estevao asked Ventura, I believe so, some sort of version of that. Ventura responded. And you told the prosecutors that you thought his behavior might be attributed to bipolar disorder, right? The defense attorney continued. Yeah, Ventura replied. You also told the prosecutors that you did not think that Mr. Combs was in his right mind because he did not respond when you told him to stop. Is that correct? Estevaux continued. Yep, Ventura answered. Bipolar disorder has not previously been mentioned by Combs' defense team or come up in this criminal trial. CNN has reached out, so that's where this article is from. CNN has reached out to representatives for Combs for comment on whether he has ever been diagnosed with bipolar disorder. So this is my first time hearing this part of it. Um, Mental health hasn't come up in all the previous moments of the trial before now.
Right. If he if it turns out that he does have a bipolar disorder, to be honest, if anybody who watched the Making a Band show, that would explain a lot of his behavior on that show. And I'm not talking about the part where he was like putting the band together. It was like after the band got signed, and we got to see them like making the making of the first album, and the other, and then when Day 26 came along, and it was Day 26 and Identity came on the show, and it was like them making the album and going on tour, and
So
all those things.
I feel like bipolar disorder can be, misdiagnosed. Also with schizophrenia can be misdiagnosed, but also drugs.
Yeah, yeah. Honestly,
Okay, drugs. Okay,
he
so
he
I'm
he
not gonna
from that
say.
era where they were doing booger sugar and all that other kind of stuff. So
I mean, so Cassie admitted that she was doing drugs and she was doing drugs with him.
Diddy, you know what? You making this hard for me to defend you. I just want you to know that. I don't know how to defend you at this point. Because at first I was like, Diddy is innocent. I had my foot down. He
Yeah,
is
you
innocent.
did. You did.
Like R. Kelly is
So,
innocent. But now
so now with all of that being said, and Cassie wrapping up her testimony, what was her name that
Don
came in
Richards.
from Danity? Yep. So she came in. She did Friday, I believe, kind of late Friday. She
Mhm.
started her testimony on with the case, and she was basically testifying to the fact that she had saw Sean Diddy Combs assault Cassie. So that was pretty much the majority of her testimony on Friday. So I'm kind of eager to see what the testimony or the other witnesses are going
So
to come on board.
I feel like
Um,
on Monday she's gonna talk more about her time. So at one point, he fired all the members of Danity Kane except Dawn. So he just fired them out the group. And then he later formed another group with himself in it called Diddy Dirty Money that he did, I believe, I want to say, not Esther Dean. Let's say Estelle and maybe Donna Richards, or I forgot the other girl. But they later formed Diddy Dirty Money. And then on top of that, when Bad Boy Records was still like a popping thing, she was doing a lot of the writing of the music for other artists on this record label, even after the whole Diddy Dirty Money thing came to an end. So she got this, like Dawn have gotten to see,
a
the
lot.
part of a lot that us the public have not seen of him that he's kept secret. So she might have seen, the after effects of when Cassie she was there after Cassie had left. So she got to see how he reacted and how he was around other women, how he was around other people, what drugs he probably got into after they left. She probably got to see more of what happened at the freak off party. So um, if they got her to testify, then yeah, I don't. This is looking very bad for him at this point. But I can say his twin daughters, they just posted a picture today. They look so good at their prom. They look so freaking good. And they had on matching red gowns. They look really good. I didn't know they were 18 already. I'm like, wow, they look really good. So, hopefully his kids come out unscathed from all of this. And I know it's gonna be really hard with daddy on trial and stuff. But yeah, I'm kind of invested and want to know what I really want to know what Dawn has to say about life with Diddy.
That's all I got for y'all.
All right, with that being said, because we are getting low on time, actually, I think that was it for the show. As far as what we have planned, yay, it is. We was gonna talk about more of what we did over while we were on a break, but we get into that on the next episode. So for right now, we are going to head into final thoughts.
Oh my God.
She always hate when I make her go first.
Okay, so final thoughts is, man, it's wild out here. Every city, every state across our country, our children are dying. Um, the government is crazy right now. So my final thought is to love on those who love on you and try to get through this the best way that we can. That's my final thought.
What's going on, everybody? My final thought is if you want to have financial stability during this Trump crisis, the best job that you can get right now, healthcare. I don't care what kind of job you get in healthcare, go get you a job in healthcare. And don't go work at the VA, go to one of these private organization hospitals and go get you a job there because the healthcare is always going to be somebody sick, crying, and dying somewhere or need a mental health expert. Go get you a job in healthcare. Truck driving was a job, but considering the fact that it's not a lot of shipments going on right now due to the trade war, it's not a lot of imports coming in. That's kind of not a field to be in right at the moment. Not saying that it's dying, but once this whole trade war thing is over, and things somewhat return to normal, then we see that pickup increase during the when things go back to normal. But yeah, so get you a job in healthcare, and then we need to start making sure that we get our neighbors, the neighbors' neighbors, the neighbors' neighbors. Your friends, your cousins, your brothers, your sisters. We got to make sure that we all get them to get out and go vote. Make your voice heard. Voting is so important. We was able to flip the Supreme Court here in Wisconsin when we got oh god, I forgot her name, the Democratic judge. I can't Susan Crawford. When we got Susan Crawford elected into the Supreme Court. So there's a lot of work that we need to do. We need to keep this work going and let's make sure we stay on track to help get our country back on track, take back control of our country. And that's my final thought for this show. And I'm using the wrong mouse.
Woo, child. That final thought was very long and very well thought. I feel some kind of way.
I just had to make sure to get that. So with that being said, I want to say thank you to I saw the few people, the people that popped in on during the live. So thank y'all for tuning in. If you ever watch us do this live, um, make sure you follow us on Facebook and YouTube. Those where you would get the notifications of when the lives are scheduled. So you can watch us do the podcast live. And if not, you just wait for the audio version to come out later in the week. Make sure you check us out on Facebook, which is Same Cast Different Day Podcast across all our social platforms. I think except for TikTok, where it's Same Cast DFNT Day Podcast on TikTok. So make sure y'all check us out on there and make sure you hit that like and subscribe. And we will see you all on the next episode. Have a good one. All right. I'm going to see y'all. All right. Okay.